Hey, let's play Pain Train. This is Homeless Poster and my friend Jackson.
What's up?
And we're going to go ahead and do a low, no enemy kill run, basically a pacifist run of Super Mario Bros. 3. We were inspired by other posters doing a pacifist run of Super Mario World, and we thought it would be a really interesting challenge to try with a different Mario game. We wanted to raise the ante a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and have another self-imposed condition. In this case, we're also going to do the run as Small Mario and Small Luigi. So no power-ups, no killing enemies, with the exception of enemies where we have to kill them to progress through the level, which you'll see in some of the later maps. But otherwise, welcome.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Mario, by the way.
And I'm going to be Luigi, clearly the superior of the two Mario brothers.
No. Luigi was just kind of tall and goofy. Like, he was kind of like he's like the nerd of the Mario brothers.
Well, yeah, but I mean, anybody that's going to find this Let's Play is clearly a nerd. I'll bet that they identify with Luigi way more than Mario.
Think so?
Absolutely.
I feel like they would choose to identify with Mario more, though.
Well, sure, it's not like an honest representation, but I think like in the heart of hearts they know. They didn't get laid till they were 25.
Alright, well, if you want to call the posters on something awful Luigi's, then...
No, I'm saying they remind me of my friend Mike is the idea.
Oh. Mike's gonna like that shout-out.
So, one of the challenges that Jackson and I have discovered while we're trying to do this, we've done a couple different test runs just trying to get everything together, is that it's actually really, really difficult. Like, your brain, after years of playing Mario Brothers and similar games, your brain really makes you want to jump on enemies as they come running by.
It's pretty much second nature at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game came out when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I played the hell out of it when it was brand new, and it definitely has not translated into skill at the actual game now. We die a lot.
We do die a lot.
You know what, though? Actually, maybe now. I mean, this is, what, the 4th time we're playing through World 1, so hopefully we won't have...
Hopefully we have this one under control.
Yeah.
You'd think so, right?
Won't have to do too much post-editing.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. There we go. Uh-oh. Got it that time. Another thing that he and I realized is that because we aren't going to get power-ups, a lot of the different one-ups... Oh, man.
He walked into me. That was bullshit.
Fail. First fail right there. 3 minutes in. So one of the things that Jackson and I realized, because we're not getting power-ups, unfortunately the lack of power-ups kind of prevents you from exploring the alternate levels or the paths with levels. One of the neat things that Mario 3 continued, they started in Mario 1 and Mario 2, was that different levels do actually have multiple exits. But you generally need to have the power-ups, you know, whether that's a Tanuki suit or a raccoon tail, the P-wing, any of that kind of stuff. You have to use those to get to those. The problem being that a lot of the one-ups in the game are hidden inside the extra parts to the level. Whoa, dodged him, so to speak. And without that, it's actually a little bit difficult to mitigate dying. Fortunately, the end of each course in Super Mario World 3 rewards you with these little power-up cards that you see at the bottom right of the screen. They represent either mushrooms, fire flowers, or stars, and after completing 3 courses successfully, you do get a number of bonus lives equivalent to, well, whatever combination of cards you got. If you don't have a triple of anything, if you get like 2 mushrooms and a flower, you get 1 life. 3 mushrooms is 3 lives, I believe.
Yep.
3 flowers is 4, and 3 stars is 5.
Oh, wait.
I thought 3 stars was 7 before, but
No,
then we
it's
actually got 3
definitely 5.
stars, and it's 5.
I think 3 mushrooms might be 2, actually.
Is that what it is? Well, I guess we'll
I
have
don't
to find
know.
out.
I don't know.
We can do it for the thread.
Well,
It's harder to intentionally get a mushroom than to intentionally get a star, right?
yeah. And, like, you might as well just go for the star every time. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm a winner. I'm not gonna just half-ass it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to play a game for the internet, you might as well try your absolute best. So, Mario Bros. 3 actually added a lot of new stuff to the Mario mythos, if you will. A lot of enemies made their first appearance in this game, which we'll be happy to point out when we see them. And as well, they added a lot of new mechanics to the game. So, the force scrolling on this map that Jackson's just about completed was actually, I believe, first introduced with Mario 3. You sure you're going to get the star on this one?
I'm gonna try.
So, in the original Mario Brothers, you could scroll the screen from right to left, but there was no backtracking. And you could actually put yourself in a position where, based on the momentum needed to complete a jump, you couldn't actually get across a gap. You could screw yourself. Mario 3 was different now in that you can actually go back and forth across the level, except for the ones that have forced scrolling. That adds a little bit of challenge to it. This is another new aspect that Mario 3 introduced that they didn't really add to any of the other games after that. It's basically a little gambling house, a mini game. You have to match up the scrolling mushroom, star, or flower on the screen with its corresponding pieces, and I am terrible at this. I have yet once in all of our practice recordings to get this to line up correctly.
Not even close.
So another cool thing that Mario 3 introduced was the concept of the world map, and as you can see, there's actually differentiation between the levels. Each of the world maps will feature a theme, so whether it's a snow or a desert or the clouds or what have you. Another thing they added that you can see here is they actually put in, I thought a fireball was going to pop out of that, they can actually put in now the addition of mini-boss dungeons. So in addition to just doing Bowser's Castle at the end of a world, you now have mini-boss dungeons, and some of the early maps have one, but some of the later maps will have multiple mini-boss dungeons to get through. They're usually not terribly difficult to complete. Ooh, a sniper nice. On that. And they're all staffed by this guy at the end. He's some random Koopa. I'm sure his name exists somewhere.
I'm sure somebody will fill us in on this one.
You'd really hope so. Now, one of the cool things here that I always noticed when I was a kid is that when you beat this mini-boss guy, a question mark pops out of him. And I was always really confused about what that was supposed to be, because beating him will serve two purposes. You demolish the castle so you can proceed through the map, but you also notice that the key lock, or the keyhole that was on the map blocking part of it, goes away too. And I always wondered if as a kid, if that was actually supposed to be like a placeholder graphic, like it was dynamite or a key or something, but I guess that's just me overanalyzing stuff.
Maybe they didn't know either. Maybe they just they knew they had to give something, but they couldn't figure out what.
That's the whole point of Mario, that you get to use your own imagination.
Is that what the point of Mario is?
Well, I mean, I think it kind of has to be. Otherwise, the concept of this guy risking his life and limb for some princess that never puts out for him multiple times just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't ring true with me.
Well, again, we're kind of going back to the average poster and relating to Mario. Always the good guys, never getting it.
Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I have no idea why you wouldn't have value-oriented behavior.
Because I'm not Mr. Nice Guy.
Well, exactly.
Mr. Nice Guy never gets laid, and hence Mario.
Yeah, right.
That's why.
So, as we can see here, you got 5 ups for the star cards, so we now know for a fact that no cards connecting is 1, and the stars are 5. Another neat thing that they added with Super Mario 3, certainly the concept of the overworld, different levels, different paths that you can take through the overworld. As well, you can see the little wandering Hammer Brothers, and sometimes they'll be Hammer Brothers, they can be Boomerang Brothers, they can be ones that shoot fireballs, different stuff like that. They actually will impede your progress in a level, and if you have to get to a choke point where you have to defeat those guys, you have to actually beat them to move past that point. They do wander the map after they're first encountered, so it can make it a little bit difficult for the first time playing through it. In those cases, if Jackson or I find ourselves behind one of those Hammer Brothers, we will actually defeat them just to progress the game, so there's not a whole bunch of us dying just to move the guy around the map. Likewise, there's several items that you can find throughout the game, either clouds or music boxes that will... Oh, man, I got screwed on that one. A flower? Really? Well, there you go. You put me to shame. You got the 5 ups.
That was sad.
Anyway, as I was saying, so in this case, Jackson's going to go ahead and fight this Hammer Brother here. We're going to do that just to get him out of the map, so that we don't have to, waste time dying just to try and move him around. Likewise, though we do have to collect the power-up in order to complete this portion of a level, otherwise time runs out and I assume you die, we won't actually be using any of those power-ups. Now, one cool thing coming up here, with the end of the first world, this is the castle. All of the kings in these castles at the end of these worlds have supposedly been turned into terrible monsters by Bowser and his evil children. One interesting thing is that they've reused the sprites for a lot of the monsters from Super Mario Bros. 2 to represent those kings. And I never really understood why they didn't just come up with new sprites for them, because you'll see when the king is rescued, that's got a unique sprite. Those guys all look different. Now, likewise, on these floating airship levels, jumping on bullet bills, jumping on cannonballs, that also disqualifies the challenge, so we've got to just avoid everything coming our way. And I guess if anybody has super keen eyes, you've probably noticed it by now, we are playing the Super Mario All-Stars version of Mario Bros. 3 that was released for the Super Nintendo as kind of a value pack. It was the first game to include what was dubbed the Lost Levels, or the original Super Mario Bros. 2 in the US. We've just been playing this for, yeah, I got through that one alright. Playing this for our convenience. It's a little bit easier to record off the emulator that we use for the Super Nintendo than a standard Nintendo. So here's Iggy Koopa. He's the first of the Bowser kids.
He's kind of a dick.
Kind of a dick. Oh, just like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So like we were saying, kind of a dick. He jumps around, he shoots you with his wand, and apparently those two things in unison were way too difficult for me to figure out.
And now I have to chase down his flying boat.
So that's another interesting thing to point out too. With the addition of the overworld for the game, the bosses, the end boss for each map, actually his airship is a physical thing, and if you fail to defeat him on the first try, he actually will move to a random point in the map. On a normal playthrough, if you're not trying to complete all of the levels just to show off the content, you can kind of put yourself in a bind where the map is, or the airship has moved to a point on the map that he's behind a level you hadn't completed. And as a kid, as you get into the further levels, I'd always get super frustrated because you would learn like what levels you could beat,
Sure.
and what levels you couldn't, and it always sucked if you got stuck behind a level that you couldn't also beat. You might as well have just restarted.
Well, you can. I don't know what the hell that was.
I mean, at least I made it to Iggy. That wasn't even. That was just shameful. So another thing that you notice too on the world map as we have time while I pilot Luigi over the airship, they do have mushroom houses throughout the maps. Those are actually like little mini marts that Mario and Luigi can stop at and get some power-ups from the friendly locals of the Mushroom Kingdom. I guess it kind of makes sense for the first time they're acknowledging that the Toads are serving a bigger role. They're actually trying to at least help Mario and Luigi rescue the princess from Bowser. We won't actually be using any of those locations. We're just, like I said, not going to use any power-ups or anything like that. There are a couple that are unique, and we'll actually show off those, just at least showing where they are and how to get them. But again, we won't actually be using the power-ups they provide. One of the neat things, too, about the airship levels, I always thought as a kid, was how well they did kind of leverage on the scrolling aspect of it. It actually, in later levels, makes it kind of a challenge because the airship itself won't just be like a solid platform for me to walk on. Let's see. Is he going to jump at me again? He's going to jump at me again. I think I've got you figured out, Iggy Koopa. Oh, death from above. Here we go. Now, the trick is you got to catch the wand at the apex, which I failed miserably, but I got it on the first bounce. So in racquetball, that's still legal. I'm still good.
No.
The goal, obviously, if you were playing this when you were my age as a kid, was to catch it right at the height of the drop. And now we've saved the king from World 1, but boy, just like every other Mario game, it turns out the princess isn't in this castle. And he actually looks kind of like a little sultan right there.
Kind of looks like an asshole.
Well, all sultans are assholes. You were kind of being
True.
redundant with that
Okay.
statement.
Fair enough.
So what you'll notice after Toad gets done doing jumping jacks with elation is that you also get a letter from Princess Peach explaining that she's actually further away than you thought. She does include different items at the end of each world that you can take into the next world map with you. They'll generally only last for one level or for one segment of the map, but the P-Wing here, for example, gives you unlimited flight, which can be tremendously useful in, kind of avoiding levels that you otherwise couldn't succeed at.
We have to. I never understood how she was able to send letters and items to you from the confines of Bowser's castle.
Well, although we didn't know at the time, later Mario games, like the Super Mario RPG series and the Paper Mario series, have proven that when Princess Peach goes to Bowser's castle, it's really just kind of like a vacation resort. Like, they give her free run of the place. They do spy on her a little bit. They get a little bit flustered if she, like, wanders into the kitchen or something like that. But otherwise, I don't think they really even care that she's there.
They treat her pretty well.
Yeah, I think you get taken there enough times, she just got, like, a timeshare.
Right.
She actually owns a room in the castle.
Not a bad gig, I guess.
Not a bad gig at all. So that was World 1. Hopefully you guys found it a little bit interesting, a little bit exciting. We're going to go ahead and sign off right here, and we'll catch up with you next time, World 2.
Alright, see you later, guys.